welcome to the Vergecast for the week of... What is the week? I'm so confused. It's January 23rd. The week of January 23rd. I'm Josh Topolsky.
I'm Paul Miller.
Nilay Patel.
And we're back.
It was different this time.
We're
I
back.
didn't say
You know what?
I just said Nilay Patel.
I haven't looked you in the eye since I came into the studio. I've just been in my zone.
It's true.
Just like hanging. It's Paul Miller time. But now I can see
It's Paul Miller time.
Yeah.
That's a GIF, animated GIF waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
he would chug a beer every time you said it.
We're back on. Well, he can chug his margarita. You don't even have your margarita. We're back. It's the Vergecast, where we discuss the week in technology and culture. Technology culture, consumer electronics, consumer electronic culture.
Yeah.
Culture, consumer electronics, and technology.
The culture of the consumer.
The culture of the consumer, the cult of the consumer, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to talk about this week.
It's a huge week, actually.
Very interesting week. And I just want to say, you may have noticed that we're drinking margaritas, and that is, of course, to commemorate.
Cheers, Paul.
Yeah, let's
to
commemorate Jon Rubinstein, who left HP and really officially left Palm and WebOS today. And of course, you can read our exclusive interview. It was actually exclusive when we put it up, and then All Things D put up in it. But I decided to not change the headline because
why?
Ours is different. I should have exclusively different interview. No, but
some of the words are not the same.
They aren't. Well, no, ours is longer, but and better.
But he did imply that he was about to drink a margarita. He was gonna
No.
He was gonna work out, but then there was like an ellipse.
He absolutely said it's too early for margarita, but he's like, I just did my workout. I'm gonna go for a swim and
not too early for us.
And lunch, and I think with lunch he'll probably have a margarita.
And he's in Mexico right now.
I said, are you going to Mexico? And he's like, yeah, you're talking to me in Mexico right now. I was like, I'm very envious. But read all about it. There's a link. Somebody will drop it into the conference room, to the chat room.
A lot of trust in the Vergecast.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed because somebody got some salt in my.
There's a lot of salt.
Yeah, it's very salty, and I don't like salt in my margaritas at all. I don't like them at all. I mean, I like margaritas, but not with salt.
And he's got a whole salted rim.
So I guess. Salted rim. That's what's going to happen if Jon Rubinstein goes over to Research Emotion.
By the way, that is definitely the title of his autobiography. Salted Rim.
The Jon Rubinstein story. Okay. Anyhow, so we should talk about this. I think it's a big story for us. I think it's a big story in this industry. I feel like it would have been a bigger story if he'd have left before they sold HP and there was all this craziness and you didn't expect him to leave for the last 2 years. But
well, did we expect him to leave when they sold out? When they sold HP?
Is that microphone turned the right way?
Yeah.
You sound quiet.
Yeah. Hello.
You got to get up on that thing. Hi. Yeah, you got to make love to that mic.
No, it's definitely this side.
Yeah, there you go.
You need to have it in front of your mouth.
I'm just doing what I was told.
Can I explain how a microphone works?
How does this work?
There's an area that you need to direct sound into.
This part? Hello?
And it vibrates.
I don't know. I don't really know how they work, to be honest.
So
is this better?
I mean, I guess we can tell the story, but
yeah,
he sold Palm to HP, and it makes it sound like especially in your interview, it's like we failed. It was over.
No,
I was done.
He
sounded like maybe if you're giving HP a timeline, hey, I got a year to 2 years with you guys. Yeah. It's like HP was never this exciting savior for the company. It was just an out.
No, I think what he was saying. I mean, there is an aspect to it like that, but I think that what he really was saying was, I thought we were going to go in there, we were going to get these amazing products out, we were going to get WebOS on track and have it be like a thing in the.
They thought it was going to be important,
right? And it would be a thing in the cycle of HP products. And once it was on its way, once that the ship had was sailing and everything was fine, he was gonna take a life raft.
Maybe. Well, there was that moment
Mexico
when Mark Hurd left that people were like, "Well, will Jon Rubinstein be the next CEO of HP?"
And who knows? That might have been a.
But to go from that kind of conversation to how important he is at HP to, I'm just quietly leaving and I always plan to leave. Yeah. There's something there that we're not hearing. Without question.
It's really hard to say, but I think there has been speculation for a while that.
Oh no! For a while that he'd be leaving now.
I just think that I think the thing after Mark Hurd was there was a vacuum and people were thinking, who could? And Rubinstein had just arrived and was like, a leader.
Yeah.
And I think people were. I don't think there was any. I mean, to my knowledge, and I don't remember all the details.
No, I don't think it was ever serious.
was
But he
never-
was in the conversation.
I mean, he may have been in the conversation in the press. I don't know if he was ever in a real conversation.
Yeah, so they picked Leo instead.
Leo. Yeah, he didn't have much to say about.
You know,
Leo.
I will say that in your interview, one of the best quotes was he was like, "I've had 4 CEOs in 19 months,"
It's true.
which is insanity.
HP is. I mean, if you look at our story stream of the story, you really can get a feel for how insanely chaotic.
Patent pending story stream.
Yeah, it's just been so chaotic. The way this company has been run for the last year or so.
And only a story stream really gives you that bird's eye view.
only the patent pending story stream can really show you the narrative and
A proprietary technology developed.
proprietary technology. It can only is the only thing that can really show you the story in that kind of, giving you the narrative.
You just can't understand it otherwise.
Well, I mean, you could understand if somebody wrote it down.
Or someone read the story stream.
If somebody read the story stream out loud to you, you can understand it. No, but I mean, that is actually one of the great things. I tweeted about it today, and I know, like, I talk about how great our stuff is all the time, and I'm like, Verge this and Verge that. But, Vox created story streams for SB Nation for their sports sites, and it's just so awesome to use it now. I mean, it was one of those things. You guys know, but like actually doing it and having these stories that unfold, and you go like, well, how can I trace the steps of this and be able to do it that easily is really thrilling to me.
I just get the vibe that Palm didn't have much of a roadmap past. I don't know if it was hoping that the pre 3 and the Veer and the touchpad, those were going to be so awesome for the company, but they couldn't quite make it there financially, and then they were going to make a new decision. But it seems like those were all their ideas. They had all those ideas. They went into HP, and there were 0 new ideas generated during the time that.
And Ruby in the interview was like, "I was going to get the touchpad out and leave."
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
I do think
that's not a plan for success.
I do think
you got to be thinking 5 years down the road.
I do think the touchpad became a thing at HP where it was like, it's not about the phones, it's all about like getting in the tablet space, and they put all this energy into it, which is actually sad because I think where you wedge in at this point is like you have a smartphone and you have an ecosystem that is around that smartphone, and then you have this tablet thing come along. Like, I feel like they put the cart before the horse on that, and the Veer was just. But the funniest thing to me was that while we were talking, I heard the like WebOS bell sound. It's one of the really memorable alert tones, and I was like, was that a WebOS alert tone? And he was like really taken off. I mean, I couldn't depict it in text, but he was like, he stopped for a second, just completely paused, and he was like, "What?" I said, was that a WebOS alert? Like, as if like he couldn't understand why I would even be asking the question. Right. And he's using a Veer, which I always thought was insane. He really loved the Veer, and he loved these tiny little phones.
Do you think he's used an iPhone yet?
Whoa. I don't know. He said in the thing
that was a special one just for Nilay.
No, he said.
Just the fact that has been like a 5-year story.
I know it's been.
Jon Rubinstein.
It's been a meme forever. But I think. I mean, I don't know. I said, "Are you going to get a different phone?" He was like, "When's the iPhone 5 coming out?"
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Did you read the interview? It's actually in there.
I read a lot of
You skimmed it. Thank you. Yeah. I know you're a busy guy. I know you guys don't have time to read my stuff. It's cool.
I actually always skip your byline.
I'm sure you have a filter that shows everybody's stuff.
It's a Chrome extension.
Except
it's really nice.
Well, anyhow, so Ruby is gone.
This is not the only piece of WebOS news.
No, it's not the only piece of WebOS news, but I think it's an interesting. It's a real landmark moment.
I have a question. I was thinking about this with the story stream. Do we have one like lengthy story stream that ends in success? All of our story streams are kind of like slow motion car crashes. Well, we have one for RIM.
I mean, if you look at.
We have one for WebOS and HP.
I think if you look at and I don't know the last Apple story stream we did, probably about one of their product releases.
Okay, so the product one's sure, but all the other ones are like the TV industry.
No, I think we have a bunch. We have one for
the Retina display iPad.
Oh, that'll.
That's a good idea
because that's going to be a beautiful thing.
All right, we need to come up with more positive story streams. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think
ones that document successes in the industry.
Well, I think there are
not just slow failures.
Our children, our future.
I think there are positive story streams, and then there's negative story streams, and then there's story streams that are really neutral when you think about it. Like the CES story streams are they're just facts, the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you can't be sad about the cameras of CES. You can't read this. Many cameras.
No, I think you can. Mm-hmm. I think you can. We were talking to. It was awesome. We went to the Apple event, the iBooks, and we were talking to Phil Schiller, who is pretty important guy at Apple, and he was like
talking about the camera.
He was like, hey, I read the Verge, and I love the CS camera. Did we talk about this already on the podcast?
Last week.
It's just cool, like just thinking about it,
Really?
to hear the people in the industry are.
And he bought his son the Fuji X10, X100,
based on the
or the X10,
the Verge,
the X100.
Are you sure we talked about? I don't think we talked.
We
about
did.
This
We talked about it personally. Maybe you weren't in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, when at the
Paul was playing StarCraft.
if we didn't talk about it at the iBooks event, we were obviously talking about the iBook stuff, and but then he was like, "Hey, I read the Verge all the time, and I love the CES coverage, and I read the stream of the cameras, and I guess I don't know if that helped inform a decision or if he just had already bought his son a Fuji.
Anyway,
anyhow. But he's a camera. He's a camera.
great.
No, but he's a camera guy. It was actually interesting talking about. I mean, when he did the iPhone 4S camera stuff, he was the guy who talked about the camera. I don't know if you recall. Yeah. It turns out he is like a camera nerd.
Isn't he? When they first did iChat AV.
Yeah, he was the one who did the demo.
I think he was like walking. Like Steve was on stage, but then he was walking into the keynote with a laptop or something like that.
Yeah, no, he did that, and then they put him in Paris one year for another demo.
Oh yeah.
Dude, actually, this leads into another story that wasn't on the list.
Segue.
Well,
Wait, don't you want to talk about
WebOS?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, whatever that is. I don't know what it is because I don't have a computer with me. But so also this week, WebOS went open source.
Yeah.
Enyo, and what is
Well, they have a new logo, and they
Enyo has a logo.
No, like open source WebOS, Enyo has a logo, and then that logo, I think.
There's another logo?
No, that logo is going to grow into like the whole family of WebOS things.
Right.
And they switched to the Linux kernel, which is what Android is based on.
Mm.
I don't. It's and they showed off some apps like running on different platforms.
They switched to the Linux kernel that Android is based on.
Yeah, like the more standard.
Right.
They had a very custom Linux kernel.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for porting to devices.
That's right.
Well,
but they showed
it'll
some.
take a lot of work still.
But it'll
that's a
help.
good thing.
It'll
Yeah.
help.
Less work.
But they showed some demos of cross-platform apps, and they're pretty bad.
They're really
if
bad.
you ask me. I mean, if this is like the showcase, it doesn't fill me with excitement.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point now. It's like, did you release an operating system or a web app development system?
Yeah, I mean, it is.
confused.
Well, that is a web app development system in many ways. I'm not excited about it. I mean, I want to be excited, but there's just like I don't know what you want. I mean, John was like, yeah, I think there's gonna be people out there who want to put WebOS on devices, but I think there's gonna be people out there who want to use like the card interface and put it on the Android device.
Well,
I hope.
we'll see. How
At least. Here's looking at you, Google. I mean, Matthias could just go grab it, right?
Did you see the Google has the new ad for the Nexus? Maybe it's not even that new, but like that
circles.
You can touch devices together to like share information.
Is that on TV? They're showing that.
I think it's a really long ad, so it might just be on the web. But maybe they'll spin out TV parts. I don't know how Google does its ads. It just creates YouTube videos sometimes, and they're beautiful.
Well, they definitely don't run a lot of ads on TV. I mean, they don't run that many on TV. Verizon's been doing ads for the Galaxy Nexus, but
anyways, you can touch two Google Galaxy Nexuses together. Share information
right.
with
NFC technology.
That's touch to share.
Yeah, and you could. I mean,
this is the thing. This is
HP got there. Palm got there first.
no. I think this is the
They
got there first.
If anybody had a phone to touch,
right.
but they didn't. But they actually didn't do that. They just did They didn't do phone to phone.
It's not.
Did they? Maybe they did. I
No,
don't know.
but you could tap things together, but it was like in your internal.
I have to say, I think tapping things together is pretty much a gimmick. You need to show me like. You need to show me the good. Show me the thing that's like, oh yeah, this is a great way to do it. You couldn't do it any other way.
Hey Josh, want to see a cool website that I was just browsing?
Yeah, what is it? Oh, you could just tell me the name.
Oh, now it's on Nilay's screen.
Don't ever touch my screen again.
That doesn't seem. I don't want somebody to be able to touch my computer and put a website on it. Do you?
Do you want your children to be able to touch
think
the
about-
website?
think
I don't like anything about this.
Think about what you could do with that power. You don't want that. No one man should have all that power.
Do you want to talk about more about WebOS, or you want to just go
I mean, what's there to say? It's open source.
It's like
the demos are bad.
This is it. This is the last week of WebOS being relevant.
No, it's not. It may get very relevant. Maybe HTC will create a bunch of WebOS phones. Because they need another platform.
Yeah. No.
They're going to trim their product line, and they've
lost their leadership. The two people who were the leaders.
Where's DeWitt? Is he still there? What's up with DeWitt?
DeWitt's coming. I like that he was like the transition to DeWitt was very easy.
It's like what? Where's DeWitt now? DeWitt was like there for one interview.
He didn't do anything.
He's like, I'm here. Catch you later.
Yeah, we're gonna open source it. See you later.
He didn't even say that.
That's true. He didn't.
He didn't say. He was just like there for like right after the touchpad launched. He was the guy who was like they're putting him in to replace Rubinstein because he messed up.
Yeah.
That's what everybody assumed. But DeWitt didn't do anything. What has DeWitt done lately? You better bring it, DeWitt.
We definitely need a shirt that says that.
What has DeWitt done lately?
That's bad.
There's a how we do it joke here somewhere. But
Look, it's over. I think this week that's it. It's over. Like,
what do you mean? What do you mean it's over?
Like, I don't.
It's going to be as thriving as Mint Linux. Or
Linux
any other open source thing that's kind of floating out there. There's going to be people who are going to work on it, and I'm sure they'll enjoy themselves. I don't see it as being. I do not think that maybe in some company, Huawei or something, is going to license it to create like their low end device, or not even license it, just use it to make. But why would they do that? They have Android. Like I don't understand.
Right.
Why would you use this if you have access to Android?
So this goes right into the next.
What was the Chinese company that bought Palm Source?
Access.
They were not a Chinese company.
Yeah, they were.
Access
Linux
was
Group.
It?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it
It was the Access Linux platform.
What was the other? What was
I just remember I went to Mobile World Congress one year, and there was a bunch of different little like Linux for phone things that they were all trying to get off the ground. Access was one of them.
Remember when we first saw? It was Access had created like. It wasn't exactly the next Palm OS, but it was like this could be it. And I remember being really excited about it, and then that never happened.
Yeah, it's funny. I read this headline, when I saw that the open source of WebOS, and I got excited, and I don't know why that still gets me excited. Then I read it, and it's like there's nothing here to be excited about. There's no facts. There's nothing helpful. I don't know who is going to be excited enough about this to do something with it.
I mean, the WebOS
but it still just sounds cool to me. I don't know
WebOS
why.
internals.
It does sound it sounds cool, but there's no. This is the mobile market doesn't let open source operating systems happen the way they happen on the desktop. Right?
What was that phone you could buy that had the open source? It was like an open source phone. I'm just
with the hardware, like
the hardware kit. I'm just blanking on the name right now.
It's like
where you like put them together.
No. That was Bug. Bug is the Bug is the modular.
You're talking about Modu. What was it called? Modu.
Was it Modu?
Oh yeah.
Remember the one? It was like you could buy the whole like kit.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get one of those.
Modu's the one that slides.
No, it's not Modu.
Okay, so that's
it was
Modu.
before that. Somebody in Ustream.
I'm not in chat.
What am I thinking of? Anyhow, it's
They're
fine.
not saying anything.
You were going to go into the next.
I was going to the next thing, which is another sad story stream, which is RIM. RIM opened the week of news.
Oh, yeah.
By announcing their new CEO.
Torsten Heinz.
Which is, if you were going to be a company run by two crazy people, and you're like, let's go with the guy.
I like how you're just flat out just calling.
They're crazy people.
Right.
The former CEOs crazy.
I think
to their virtual faces.
It's well justified.
Maybe.
And they're like, let's go with what's the most evil dictator?
Torsten Heinz.
Yep.
You mean isn't he the villain from Die Hard 1? Torsten Heinz. Anyhow, yeah, no, he's
he seems a little unhinged too. It's not.
He
just
seems insanely
calculating.
Unhinged. And then so he had a quote. Speaking of Android, his quote was, "BlackBerry is a differentiated product with a real chance to succeed.
Yes.
Android OEMs are all the same."
It is differentiated.
And
It actually gives you a little clock. It actually shows a little timer like thing when it's doing things. Sometimes, even on its most recent, most powerful device, it actually shows you a clock and freezes the phone while it's thinking. It is a different beast entirely.
To my untrained eye, if you're a company who gets a lot of flack for its crazy co-CEOs, and so you you know what? Let's get rid of the co-CEOs, get a brand new guy that will just be one CEO.
Yeah, single
and,
CEO.
And investors are going to love this. This
Mono,
is really
going
to make us look great in the market. That guy should not come out swinging saying everything RIM has been doing is awesome.
I mean, I really have to say the fact that we have a stream called Turmoil at HP and a stream called Turmoil at RIM really points to just how sad story streams have become for us.
What I want to know is are people using the word turmoil? I feel like they're not. I feel like that's a word that we're like it's a very dramatic word.
Dire straits.
Yeah. No.
Dire straits at RIM.
Dire straits at RIM. More CEOs. These can rock. No, but
worst DVD box set ever, I have to say.
Performing live in Waterloo, Dire Straits live in Waterloo on the Rim campus. But I do
at the Hard Rock Cafe
at Waterloo. I do have to say, it does seem like he is definitely towing the company line. Like he's definitely saying the same things we've been hearing
in a belligerent way.
And he's really mad about it.
And I think that like they have this trope. They've got this meme there. They keep going. They keep harping on, which is, you're just looking at America. You're just, we're, in this developing nation thing, and that's great. I'm happy for them. But Nokia said the same thing for years, and now they make Windows phones.
Yeah.
So you know what? Like that, I know that you guys want to be there, and that you should be there. Great. But you need to be here too, and that's the place that everybody's paying attention to. Unfortunately, for the developing world, the place where people are looking to judge your success is not in India right now. I mean, that's just the sad truth of it.
I think the RIM needs to stop talking and put out a new operating system, and then they can start talking.
They need
again.
to see that Home Depot
They've
commercial.
been doing this for what was
less talking, more doing.
How many years ago was the super apps thing?
Oh,
that was
God.
like last year.
No, that was like maybe 2 years
Okay,
ago.
okay.
And it's like, you guys know what we're talking about. It's like, no, we still don't know what you're talking about.
No, that was the Torch. The original Torch was Super App.
No.
It was
It was
OS
at a
6.
developer
No, it was
conference
before
even before the
It was
Torch.
before the Torch. It was OS 6.
Right.
They introduced OS 6, and they were like, "This is the new OS. It's really awesome, and it's got super apps." And they didn't justify or explain what super apps are at all.
RIM doesn't need to say out loud that they missed the cycle. Even if they did, they don't have to say it out loud. But they need to stop acting like they haven't missed the cycle out loud until they get a new product.
I have this thing, like, and I think maybe I've talked about it on the podcast before. Maybe I haven't. The Vergecast, sorry. But I have this thing where I don't think it's good to ever talk about what you're doing or what you're going to do. It's really just the best thing is to do it. Is to not like tell everyone how great something's going to be, just to go and make it great.
Yeah.
And I think that like that's what they need to do right now. They need to not talk about how good they're doing anywhere or even how bad they've done. They just need to like impress the hell out of people. They need to have like a WebOS moment, which they haven't had yet, and I don't know how they're going to have. But
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just don't know what the appetite is for people at this point. Like, in what need is Android and the iPhone not serving besides like having a great physical keyboard? And honestly, I mean, maybe you can get an Android device with a BlackBerry keyboard at this point.
This is something I
you
think
really need one.
I think this is something that Microsoft is doing pretty well. It's not ultra defensive about Windows Phone. It's like, yeah, we know our market share is not great, but they keep on working at it, and I'm sure they're thinking really hard about.
Hey, there's a horse in Rebin that always runs, that always suits up.
It's a crazy quote,
and it's gonna run.
I mean, there's no benefit, there's no prize in having another mobile operating system. You have to have something different and new for people.
What I wonder now is, Playbook 2. I mean, get out of my face. Like, there's not a tablet I want to look at less than the Playbook.
Also, what's funny about that is that they're doing this Android player stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like,
which is insane,
dude. Android apps suck on the tablet. They're all bad.
Right.
So your strategy for tablet apps?
Yeah, you're gonna run that Twitter for Android on a tablet, which is like Twitter with really long lines. Because it's not formatted for a tablet. I mean, make a better platform for developers to go to.
Right.
Show them like an awesome like SDK that rivals Apple's
instead of 50 SDKs.
What?
Enyo.
Yeah.
Enyo. They're like, we're using Enyo now to create. No, but like, who knows? They may. You can create Playbook apps with Enyo.
Mm. Well, I think the bigger problem with all this change is they have this new CEO. He's already walking back.
Interim.
No, he's the new guy.
I thought they called him an interim CEO.
Thorsten Heinz.
It's actually pronounced Torsten, from what I understand.
Torsten.
Whatever. Either way sounds evil.
Yeah.
Either way is evil.
I mean, he will definitely shoot you if you cross him.
I don't think he'll shoot you. He'll do something far worse. You'll want him to shoot you. You wish he'd shot you. This is terrible. I'm sure he's a fine man.
No, he's a family man.
He's a family man. He has kids. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy. His name does sound a little evil.
Yeah.
And he sounds, a little like not totally getting the program. But
but I'm saying he's already walking back. That's what I'm saying.
He did an interview with Crackberry. He's very hot to talk to Crackberry. This is something I just want to say, like,
people left.
Well, this is something that like I think RIM does, and I'll just speak from this is like a little inside baseball, but I want to talk about it. I think they tend to they want to find people who are going to give them favorable coverage, and they try to avoid people who who they're worried might not give them favorable coverage. And I actually think it's a bad strategy when you're trying to reestablish yourself. I think it's like, talk to the people who may be hard on you, because when you do something good, those people are going to be the people that readers go, oh, I actually should take a look at this.
Yeah,
not like the no offense to Crackberry, they do a great job, but they're obviously BlackBerry fans. Like they're clearly rooting for RIM to like do cool stuff.
I think the real danger is if you keep hyping up your true fans and letting them down over and over again.
That's also,
they will just leave.
No, that is a danger, and you do see that. Like there's a lot of cheerleading going on, but you guys have to deliver.
Right.
I mean, I have the new Bold in my bag right now.
Yeah.
And
was sad when he showed us.
You know what? There's a lot of stuff that's really great about what they do. I think there's some great things they do. I think their Gmail integration, the sync stuff still doesn't work properly, but it is actually integrated where you can label and star and archive. That plus like a unified inbox of like your tweets, and like I've actually come around to the unified inbox a little bit, which I think is great, and they really pull it off with all of your messages in one place. I think like BBM is kind of whatever now because Apple's doing the same thing. I don't think that's at their strength anymore. It may be because people are plugged into that network, but as soon as everybody graduates to an iPhone, they're no longer plugged into that network. And
it's an interesting phrase.
I think they no longer care.
By the way, graduates to an iPhone.
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing. People see getting an iPhone if you have a BlackBerry as a graduation to a better product.
Right.
And that's why RIM has lost market share.
And we should talk about these numbers too.
Yeah,
I will, but I just want to say, like, I think that there are strengths. I do think their keyboards are great. I think they make beautiful hardware. I think their screens are great. The screen on the Bold is beautiful. I think that
they were the first to do high resolution screens, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, without question.
And I think that like their design, the aesthetic has some decent stuff going on. I think that they're doing nothing to like. They should play up these things. They should have shipped the playbook with an awesome unified email and messaging experience. That would have been like advantage RIM. Like no one else does this. Collect all of your tweets, all of your IMs, all of beam the IMs over from, or not IMs, sorry, the SMSs from your phone to the thing. All of your instant messages, everything else in one place. Like that would have been a value add that no one else was doing except for Palm, really, kind of, sort of, but not so much. But they didn't do it. It's like they're they have cool Flash demos. They wanted people to make Flash games. Right. It's like every mistake imaginable. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Numbers. No, I was going to. It's interesting you say graduate to an iPhone because I think we saw a lot of that. I mean, Apple announced its results this week.
Yeah.
And they're massive.
This thing is
blow away results, right?
Yeah.
I can just read numbers now. They made $13 billion in profit. Which is over 50% of they're 50% higher than the previous record.
And what do they have? They have something crazy in the bank now. It's like
$90 billion.
$93 billion like in cash.
Yeah, and they have so much money they have to like start preemptively addressing it on the calls. Yeah. Like we're thinking about ways to use it. We're gonna figure something out.
It was one of those things. It was like a year or two ago. Tim Cook was like, look, every once in a while, there's a strategic move that you can well prepared
when they
for.
That was when they had 50 million.
Right.
Yeah.
50 billion.
Billion, sorry.
No, they're at the point, I think somebody calculated they could like pay off the entire debt of Greece and still be fine.
Well, they said somebody was I can't think of who wrote this. It was either I don't want to get the author wrong, but somebody wrote something maybe it was Eric Schoenfeld on TechCrunch about they should buy Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he lists the market caps of like Universal and Warner Brothers, and they could buy like all of the major studios and still have like $30 billion left over. which is like, just for a second I mean, obviously they would get hit with tons of antitrust and monopoly stuff.
They could buy most of the mobile companies.
Yeah. No, they're enormous.
Except for a carrier.
Let's think about things that would actually be good for Apple to do with that money. Oh, we should I don't know if you want to keep talking about numbers?
Let me just read off the numbers. Okay. They sold 37 million iPhones. They sold 15 million iPads.
Do they say how many? Do they say
there's a market share thing that's going around today about?
Yeah, they're back in the lead.
They're winning again.
Yeah, they're way.
Or no, the market share of Android went down for the first time in a while, and iPhone went up.
Well, I do think that there's a couple of reasons for that.
And 5 million Macs, and they sold 2 million more phones than Samsung shipped.
And the only thing they went down on is iPod sales.
But that's always
right. But that's on the decline now. Did they break out what iPhones they sold? They don't.
No, they say by far the 4S.
But they don't say the number.
No.
I bet they're selling a lot.
It has to be the vast majority.
A lot. A lot of those. A lot of $100 iPhone 4s and a lot of free iPhones.
Oh, I mean,
I'm sure they're doing well.
I mean, they're definitely. I mean, I think if you go into a store, if you're going to go there to buy a free feature phone or something, and you can get a free iPhone.
Right.
I mean, what human being would go like, no, I don't. I'm not going to get that.
Was it? I think it was Katie that did the retweets of people. It was like during Christmas, people like
I didn't get
swearing at their parents.
I think a few people did things, but there were definitely like there was this meme of people complaining because they didn't get an iPhone.
Like I might as well die now.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it is like it's that item.
I mean, it's
It's
obvious.
Tickle Me Elmo for adults,
it's a hot item.
teenagers.
I just saw this picture today of a girl who just got an iPhone 4. She's like 14 and she's like crying.
Oh, yeah.
Snot is running down her. It's just like, and I just wonder. This is something we were talking about. I don't know, a couple of years ago. I feel like that, Android was selling well and it's continued to sell well and will continue to sell well, but it wasn't necessarily the best experience right away. It's getting a lot better very rapidly. But I can imagine a lot of people have had bad experiences with it, or they
over
had
the last 2 years,
or the last 2 years,
they bought the original Droid on Verizon because they couldn't get. I mean, do you think Apple isn't aware of this?
Right, or they had a friend who got Evo 4G and really liked it first, but then the battery life just started having problems.
Yeah.
What, when I get a smartphone or when I tell my parents what to buy me for Christmas, I'm gonna get an iPhone 4S.
Well, I mean, think about the timing. I mean, the original Droid was released in October of 2009.
Right, timing is like right in line.
This phone came out October of 2011. So you get a huge bunch of Verizon customers who were desperate to get a decent smartphone who went and bought the first Droid.
But what's interesting is that AT&T sold like 1.6 million more iPhones.
Well, they're selling more and more every day.
Right.
They sold more than Verizon. Yeah. Well, but
like 20%.
Well, the AT&T now has a larger
sales.
AT&T has a larger user base. They said in their earnings.
Yeah, they're
because
really
because
nice.
of who was it they acquired that they gave them
doesn't-
the larger? It was U.S. Cellular. No,
Well, doesn't Verizon have more?
They just acquired somebody like a year or two ago that gave them a larger.
No.
AT&T did. Yeah, they did. Where's Chris Ziegler right now?
I don't know. You're talking
They definitely acquired a regional, a rather large
I'm
regional. Bell. I'm telling you, unless I'm completely high and drunk.
You might be thinking of Verizon and Alltel.
No, it was an AT&T acquisition.
Right.
T-Mobile.
Yeah, they tried.
No, it wasn't T-Mobile. It was like a year, maybe 2 years ago.
No, a little while ago, they acquired somebody, but then Verizon passed them again.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they've been really nice. I don't even know what the
If somebody could just tell me.
I was pretty sure that Verizon was having subscribers.
They claim they have more subscribers. I mean, which one should I drink, Coke or Pepsi? I just can't decide.
Which company will treat me worse day to day?
I know. Which one will rot my insides faster? But so we should talk about. I want to talk about Apple and what they can do with their money. But I also want to touch on there were 2 New York Times articles.
Yeah, which stuff we talk about?
Directly related to Apple's money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they were articles. One was really about the U.S. economy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even about Apple. It used
Apple was the frame.
It used Apple and the iPhone as a kind of as the framework to tell a different story, which was here's how screwed up our economy is, basically. Yeah. And then here's where all our jobs went, basically, in America. And then they did a follow-up story, which was the gist of that story was all our jobs went to China, which we all know, but where labor is cheap. And they'll do anything that any American company wants.
What was the quote?
Especially Apple.
They can get 3,000 people to build iPods in the middle of the night, and then they'll live in a dorm.
Yeah, and they actually had some anecdote in there that was Apple came to just check out one of the factories, and they had built a new wing, or they were under construction, and they were like, "We're building this just in case we get the contract."
Yeah.
It's like, where is that? It's like that's millions. I'm sure millions and millions of dollars in investment to build, tens of millions of dollars to build a new factory. And they're just like, well, maybe you'll choose us. So we just jumped the gun on this. But then the follow-up story was, of course, that working conditions are terrible for people in China at these factories, Foxconn. And I want to stress, these are not just Apple factories, and they kind of gloss over that in the article.
Yeah,
right.
No, they're like Dell factories.
But they are Dell. They're HP factories. They're Asus
everybody's
factories.
factories.
This is where everybody's stuff is made. And I think, and I'll just say this: you should read them. We covered them on the site. We added a few little anecdotal pieces. You should read the New York Times articles, both of them. But what I will say is, I think the gist of the Times article and what I think is getting people a little bit burned up right now about Apple's role. Now, Apple has taken a lot of proactive steps, more than most companies, I think. At least more, they've done more visible stuff. Like they just released a report about the conditions of their factories and talked about how they deal with problems. And so I do think they are addressing the problem in some way. But I think what people are getting enraged about, and this to me is what kind of makes me not angry, but feel like there could be more that could be done. First off, there is this confluence of events that's incredible, right? For one is, we have a very bad job situation in America. Then we've got Apple, which is like the pinnacle of American companies, American designs, American ingenuity, and just a world-beating, just completely insane, ideas. That is more profitable than any company
with a higher profit margin.
Yeah, I mean, just completely
44%.
Crazy profit margin, completely crazy money in the bank, and so you've got that piece, and you've got Steve Jobs' wife sitting next to Michelle Obama at the State of the Union, and Obama talking about how Apple is we want more Steve Jobs in this country, and then saying we want to bring jobs back from China, and then there's a quote from Steve Jobs in the New York Times saying to somebody at a dinner with Obama, those jobs are never coming back from China to America. And so you've got them with all this money, you've got these quotes out there, this weird situation that's like a political situation almost, because Apple now matters in our politics. Like when you look at this, when you look at the broad, like if those where the jobs are, if they're the new car company, and then you've got a report about these terrible conditions. And Apple has established itself as a leader. They've said, we're leading this. We're the leaders, right? And they also say that, think different, right? We're Apple. We don't do things the way the other guys do. We don't, our factories are different, or they should be. If you're going to start, and if you're going to say, hey, we're the leader and we do the best job possible and we can change things. And that was their thing, right? We can change things and we are changing things. Then I think what gets people really riled up is you look at this combination of events and this kind of vibe. And Apple's like, look, we issued a report. And it's like, well, you could do more. Yeah. You could take way less than half of your 93.
You could go from 44% to 40%.
You could take your 93 billion and then just completely revamp the working conditions for anybody in any factory.
Well, the only thing is that, yes, they could revamp working conditions and make them awesome in China, and that's one thing.
Well, that's the human.
But as far as bringing the jobs to America, there's a lot of things as far as the components, and the actual physical,
the way they're fabricated,
rare earth materials, and that sort of stuff. That's not easy to get.
And that was the
to
quote
America.
in the Times as well, where it's like, well, you're making the motherboard factory, but the silicon processing factory is down the street.
Right,
that's a lot of,
and that gives them
a big change,
and that gives them the ability to iterate quickly on things. But
China's bought up a lot of mines and stuff. Like they have a lock on a lot of the resources.
Very smart of them.
A lot of the resources that are
the biggest brain collection in the world in China, actually.
And the really
biggest what?
Brain collection.
Brain collection.
They just buy the mines.
No, not.
What?
I don't understand that joke.
MINES.
Oh, those mines.
Like Minecraft.
I thought you said mines.
What? Wait, what?
Why would they be?
Wait, what do you think he said? Mines?
I thought he said mines. Like they purchase mines.
Oh, what? That doesn't make any mines.
No.
He was obviously saying mines, like MINE. You're weird.
That's
Why would you even think that?
I don't know.
Cool.
What?
Get out. But don't even get me. The mines are a whole nother story,
Get
right?
another one of these.
Because
don't.
I would actually like somebody smarter than me to figure out. Obviously a lot of car jobs have come back to America.
Yeah, and in fact, Japanese companies and other other car companies from other countries have brought jobs to America where they originally didn't have it.
And that's the hot thing. And a lot, sometimes that's, working with state governments and stuff to do that. But I just wonder if there's something about electronics, and this is what I'd like to know, that makes it impossible. Because I think that might be the case.
Does seem like there are definite real things that they might not be able to change in the short term, like what you're describing. But they do say in that New York Times article that they estimate that an iPhone assembled here in America, not not with components from American factories, but taking those components and assembling them would cost like an additional $65 to the end user.
Right.
But I think a lot of people would pay.
I think people.
If you get,
really
I'll
think
tell you
people
this:
would pay.
if you gave me an option, if you said the phone will be $65 more, or even $100 more, but it's made in America. If there was a button I could click somewhere, I would click that button because I live in America and I want our country to be to be economically sound, and jobs are how you make a country economically sound, and unless you have tons of oil, which we don't. So
Oil.
We
have a lot of oil. Yeah, we just don't want to mine it.
Well,
God, drill. We
Those
don't wanna
mimes, dude.
Drill.
I don't know.
baby, drill.
Obama said he's cracking open offshore drilling again.
Did you really watch the State of the Union?
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
He's cracking open. He's getting. You know what I love? Nobody seems to mind. Remember BP? Remember the oil spill? The oil leak? Remember just totally poisoned the Gulf? Nobody cares. Now they're like, let's get the mines going.
I saw a BP ad the other day. They're like, we're still working on it, guys.
The BP ads are really depressing. They're like, this fish is safe to eat, probably. Look, there's nothing to worry about. Like a kid comes out of the water completely in like black, like dripping oil.
Like a fish man?
Yeah, like a fish man. And somebody's like, it's a fish man. They're like, no, it's just a kid who went swimming.
Just a kid who went swimming
in the Gulf. No, I'm sure it's fine. I don't know.
You know, actually, as sad as that is, it's a really good example of what happened this week with the Apple story. Because we immediately forgot, like as a country, we forgot about the Gulf. I mean, it was this thing.
No, it's
gone. It's been vanished.
No, we put our blinders on. We got to keep going.
And the Times piece is all the quotes from the executives were nobody cares. Like, we know this is a problem,
and I don't think
nobody cares.
I don't think people do care. I mean, look, it's a really distant. Here's what people care about: jobs. And you start explaining to them that there is a way to bring jobs back to America, and that Apple is in some way standing in the way of that, and they'll care. We don't know that that's the case. I mean, there may be reasons why they just can't bring them here. That may be possible.
Well, I think those reasons are really, but I will say, just in the short term of this week, it was like they were saying in the article, no one cares about this. And then the reaction to the article was kind of nobody cared about it.
I mean,
like we care about it.
I think
we're talking about it.
I think it's
but nobody else.
Take,
like there was no uptake.
Sure, people don't care about it.
I think people care about it.
Can I spoil a feature that I've been thinking about writing? And
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Just so many good
No,
ideas.
because I run the site and I'd like you to write the feature. What do you say? Don't talk about if it's a good feature. Why would you? Don't give it away. Some guy, some blogger out there.
He's going to register the domain.
Some mime.
Right. This will be another app snacker all over again.
I may or may not have a forthcoming feature.
Don't say it.
That might help convince you that people will want to pay more for.
Well, now you've basically given away your whole feature.
Is it a survey?
No, just be quiet. Stop talking about this feature. What? But I'm interested to read it.
It's about economy.
How quickly can you have that ready to go?
I'll start on it right now.
Can you do it right now?
Yeah.
Can you by the end of this Vergecast? Can you be finished?
I probably couldn't have at some other publication, but with story streams, I think I can.
with the patent pending story streams, you'll be able to do it. Nice. Yeah. But I do think like this is a thing that we have to confront. I mean, I think that it's really. And I touched on this a little bit. I think when we were talking about CES stuff, I think we talked about this a little bit. But it's like we're in this weird position. And by the way, like I see us as covering this culture, and I think that that's going to evolve. We just launched the site, and I think there's a lot of stuff we want to do with the site we haven't done yet, and a lot of type of coverage we want to do that we haven't done yet that we're going to do a lot more of, or that we've done some of, but we want to do more. But it's tough going to a place like CES and knowing the reality, which is, how these things are made and the economy of how they're made and how it's like really kind of
actually what the most direct and it's not maybe not tightly correlated, but we don't go to CES and see 10,000 anonymous American tablet manufacturers. We go there and we see 10,000 anonymous Chinese tablet.
I mean, I was actually going to say, Laura and I were talking about this, and it was like you don't have an option. Like we were actually, because we're vegetarians, right? And especially in places like New York, you can go to a place that's like vegetarian food, and they'll say this food is from a nearby farm. It wasn't, we didn't burn a bunch of oil to bring it in.
Because there's a market for it.
It doesn't have chemicals in it. Because there's a market for it. But there is no slow food vegetarian option for electronics. There is no homemade, like American made. What are the American made gadgets?
But to Nilay's point, it's like Yes, there isn't that, and there's not an opportunity to make that like so. Like if for farming, right? Like farms exist, and let's say there was a bad, evil corporate farm. It's like, you know what? Your margins aren't that hot. Let's go over here. You know what? All we have to do, let's reform some of your practices. Let's adhere to this published guideline and peer review it. I don't know how they.
I don't know how farms work. But there's a number of ideas.
Were you to peer review a chicken?
Yeah, peer review chicken. Peer
I'd like
review.
to point out that
that chicken's checking out chickens.
But 2 weeks ago, Paul told us that he personally examined millions of potatoes.
I have.
That's true.
I
now
have.
he's
Wait,
peer
I
reviewing
want
a
to hear.
chicken.
I want to hear this.
Well,
I do
so
too.
I'm just saying, in America, there's a lot of farms. You could go to a farm and turn it into a high standards, free range chicken farm if you'd like to. And
You can literally go into any business in America and turn it
No, I
into
mean,
a chicken farm.
it is possible. I mean, you get to a certain volume, I think it's really hard to. I mean, when it comes to animal processing, I mean, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole.
Oh, God.
No pun intended. But like, I think when it gets to like mass animal processing, you do get to a point where like you can't be humane because it's like a machine, like literally a killing machine.
Right.
But
Right.
but I see what you're saying. Like, I think where you're going is.
well, and so you need an industry there to reform, and so like I don't know anybody. You know, if you're in China, or like
right, like
Juju, it's like I know guys. I have money. There's some people ready to make some
There are
electronics.
anonymous Asian investors.
Right, you know, and
floating
so like
around.
I there's all these connections to a factory. Oh, we got a factory. We're not doing much right now. We're just making some knockoff something. Let's make an original thing. You know,
Right.
That's all around, and so you could go in there and you could create a product and you could do innovation. And like in the U.S., it's like I know a ton of graphic designers, so I
Right.
could probably make a graphic design shop, or I know a bunch of musicians. We could probably start a band, but I don't know somebody who owns an electronics factory.
Well, they don't exist here. I mean, they
Right.
don't. They do for some things, I'm sure, and I don't have all the
So,
data.
so,
well,
to-
Intel
so to
has
get
all
it,
its
so to,
factories
so to
here.
get it like
AMD has a bunch of
sure,
factories
but like to get a US labeled
TI.
a US labeled tablet like built in the USA.
Right. What would it
tablet,
take? What would it take?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. And until a company like Apple says, you know what we're going to do, we're going to, because that's what a leader does. I mean, that's what a company that wants to lead in something
Well,
does.
and you see these hobbyist electronics all the time. What's the gaming device? Pandora or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how long has that been in development?
It's
Like,
not, but
4 years?
but the funny thing about
It's
the Pandora is,
guys with a great idea,
No,
but
but
they
they're-
didn't have any manufacturing.
but even if they
connections.
get all, no, but it's not even about the connections. But at the end of the day, they still have to get that thing made in China.
No, exactly. So that's the
Right.
thing. It's like they have this great idea. They've got it all designed. It's
Right.
all ready to go. But
no-
now they have to work with people in China,
I
and they
mean-
don't know how to do it. And that's why I think you see a lot less hardware startups in the U.S. because you don't have direct ties
I mean,
to somebody who can actually
let's
build
just get,
something.
let's just
you
get,
have to outsource it.
let's just be clear. Things would have to change for Apple to do what it does overseas here in America. But you could change some of it. It could do it pretty quickly too, I believe. I mean, I believe that. Let's just start with, hey, guess what? There's a ton of people here in America who would love to manufacture to build your iPhones, to assemble them for you. So the parts can be sourced from all over the world. Hold on, but there are a lot of people here who would love to assemble them. I mean, unfortunately, and this is the reality. The labor is cheap in China. It's so cheap we can't even fathom how cheap it is. Like no one in America would work for that money.
You know, absolutely,
No one would work
and
for
you know
it.
what? And you know what? The other thing in the U.S. is like, not a lot of people, even if it paid well, not a lot of people in America aspire to do that work. And to be honest, in China, it's going to get to a point as the economy continues to go up. There's people going to aspire to do other things.
I disagree. I think if Apple had a factory here, I think it's like
I think a
it's
lot
like
of people would wanna
I think
work
it's like
there.
Ford was in the 50s.
Yeah, no,
you know,
same.
I think it's like that's the place where you get an awesome job. You have great benefits. You probably have a great union, and there's a chance to become like management or whatever. I think that's like a classic American
No, I mean,
job.
I know.
I just don't think most of the people I know.
I think
went
they'd
to
rather do
college.
that than go to
Most
work
of them,
at McDonald's.
Most of them went to college, and I guess
But that's
maybe
one,
they want to go to the
That's
job
one
afterwards.
aspirational path. But I mean, like, I know a lot of people who live around like the John Deere factory
Yeah.
in Illinois.
Maybe I have a
and they
skewed
all
perspective. I don't
went
know.
to go
the-
work at the John Deere
Okay,
factory.
well, then
and
that's
they're
Of all
very
the
happy.
people,
great.
of all the people who wouldn't know more blue collar folks who might want to have a job at a factory, I'm surprised that you're not the guy.
I'm surprised at the guy in the velvet blazer, actually.
No,
look. Let me tell you. Look at my outfit, okay?
You know what? I worked with potatoes, right?
Yeah, right.
Guess what? Guess what I wanted to do?
Graphic design.
Get out of that potato town.
Yeah, get out of the potato town.
Right,
Exactly.
screenplay.
Paul Miller, Escape from Potato Town.
Seriously,
Right,
I would take a sacked lunch to work, and I had a Sharpie marker to mark the potato bins, and I would write song lyrics on my paper sack lunch.
Oh God, you're like a guy from a Levi's ad.
Can I just say, our producer Creighton is standing there, and I can't tell if he's laughing.
Are you laughing? He's mocking. He's mocking us.
This is his job.
But listen, look. But
also, I need to rewind just a little bit because at some point in chat, Nilay said I'm the cheapest date.
No, I said I was the cheapest date in the game.
Oh, come on. He's not. Okay.
Because I finished my margarita.
I want to get back on this conversation for a second. So I just want to say, I do think that could be a real thing here. I mean, I do think that it's like we don't have the infrastructure to support Apple building products here. But like
wait, that infrastructure is deep though. We don't have we don't have like the schools to support the people to learn it. I mean, Apple couldn't build a factory here tomorrow. Stuff doesn't.
No, I know that, but stuff doesn't come out of thin air. Like you have to make it.
Yeah, and Apple is the one company,
now they have the money
that could play that long game, and they could.
But here, and that's that's why I think Apple is like, and Tim Cook. We published this thing. Apparently, Tim Cook wrote a letter to the team at Apple and said, hey, we're working on this. We're outraged by the insinuation that we're not, and I get that. But the truth is, iPhones are made in China. China is a communist country. It's under communist rule, and really. It's really more like fascist rule. It's not really communist rule. I mean, I think it's a perversion of communism when you really look hard at it. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole either.
Oh God, you are so deep in it already.
But I think that it's
surrounded by rabbits.
I'll agree with you.
I think it's a place where the government and industry can exert tremendous amounts of control over the people there and over the workers there. And I think it's a place where Apple can go and get pennies on the dollar labor, and that makes their bottom line fatter. And until Apple until any company says, I'll accept a less of a fat bottom line for either more fair labor or more labor in the country where my company is based, we're not going to change.
Have you seen Last Train Home?
No.
Well, if you want to cry a lot.
What is it?
Well, it's about
I do want to cry a lot, by the way.
It's about some like a provincial Chinese family, and the parents go into the city to work in a factory, and their life sucks, and they're in the city the whole year. They're working like 7 days a week, crazy hours.
Yeah.
And then once a year for Chinese New Year, maybe there's one other time in the year that they come home. Everybody gets on a train, and so it's like this huge mass migration where hundreds of millions of people.
Oh, is this a documentary or is
it's a documentary?
It is a documentary. Yeah, I've heard of this.
It's really wild, and it's like there's a reason everybody's working at these factories. It's very financially viable. If you stay home on your in your small town, you're gonna starve. It's not.
I mean, it's not as profitable as working for Apple.
But
basically.
The economy has them over a barrel. Like they would love to stay home with their children instead of being away from their children for an entire year working in a factory.
There's like if you here's the thing, like there's this flip side of that where people say, well, they're a developing nation, and at some point things will get better as this becomes more of a focus.
This is, in a lot of ways, improving their standards of living.
Well, it's improving their standards of living, but what the difference there is, like, you're making the assumption that at some point these workers will gain a control that they just simply won't. I mean, we're not pressing China on being.
Well, they did it. Wait.
Well, it worked.
They did it here,
but we're not.
We weren't a fascist. We weren't a fascist dictatorship. We weren't a fascist communist country.
But
I mean, we were a country where like we believe that our citizens had some kind of like rights and liberty.
It's in China's interests as a country to keep these like margins as tight as they are.
No, because it's making their country rich, and if their country's rich, they can have a really nice big military.
One word for you: Olympics.
No, but we are in denial of the truth. We are in denial of.
Did you know
swimming
that there was another uglier girl under the stage singing that anthem?
What? Oh, I see. No. But
second uglier.
But
okay.
But
that's really sad.
But anyhow, the point is that there is no call to action anywhere except for those workers. And those, I mean, if those workers go on strike, it's not inconceivable that people would just start getting killed. Like, you understand. In fact, our ambassador, if you read in last week's Business Week, the ambassador to China, U.S. ambassador to China, says human rights abuses in China are getting worse.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a quote. I'm quoting. He says they're getting worse. And they're worried. He said that the leaders there are worried about an Arab Spring in China, and so they're going to put the boot heel on these people. And it's like there is no reason to think, and this is the truth. There is no reason to think that they wouldn't just simply kill people who don't agree with what the government does there, because that's what they do. They do that now, and we are all ignorant or willfully ignorant of that fact. If I mean, there's no way that anybody can sit here and pretend like that's not a reality, because it is.
The question is, at what point does our economic involvement in China start to supersede their own right of self-determination, right?
Wait, I'm confused about that question.
Like, we buy things from factories in China.
I'll tell you what.
Right? At what point do we say, well, our responsibility because we buy stuff is more important than your right as a country and as a citizenry to control your own country?
I would just say, you know what? If I'm an American,
because we can travel the world.
If I'm a rich American company that has a lot of money in the bank, and I know that my people in my country are hurting because they don't have jobs, and I know that people in their country are hurting because the job conditions suck, you know what I'd do? I'd say, I'm going to take a few billion of my dollars and go do some of my stuff in America. And if you guys want to do what we're doing here more, then, you know, get better conditions going for your workers. I think it's a win-win. We get workers here, and they get better conditions over there.
I think there's two things. For one, there's one company that has those margins. Only one. And
all the companies are making money. They're making money, or they go out of business.
No, but they're all turmoil at RIM, turmoil at HP. Like, they're all doing it.
Apple has
RIM built some of their stuff in Canada, by the way.
Apple has had some serious points in its history that everybody knows a lot about, where it looked like it was going to go under. So, you know, it's understandable for them to want to have a little bit put away. You know,
$93 billion.
No, it's got to an extreme extent.
I want them to protect their interests.
So, but that said, I do think there really could be a way. It's an insane investment, and it will be trying to get access to the raw resources and stuff that are required, but. To build factories in the U.S. And also to start innovate.
Hold on, wait. Let me.
To also start. So something that Foxconn is doing is they're doing a lot of innovation in automating factory lines. Like, factory lines get more and more efficient, which is why even as, you know, minimum wage has gone way up in the U.S. Like, we can still, you know, and wages for a lot of factory workers are way higher than minimum wage, of course. Why it's still affordable, because you're creating so much valuable product with so little relative manpower.
So I have a question for you.
And I think as you continue to innovate, and like Foxconn is like looking into robotics and stuff, it's a perfect fit for a technology company to say, like, you know, we're going to maximize all this manpower. Yes, we're going to hire a lot in the U.S., but we're also going to be looking at a lot of technology to make those, you know, to spread those HR dollars.
I have a question for you.
Into a lot of production.
It's a very serious question.
Yes.
I just asked Josh a question, but I think this is the flip side of that question.
There's a lot of build up to this question.
I know it is. Why is this Apple's responsibility, not a collective?
I just said why it's Apple's responsibility.
No, it's not. No. That doesn't make any sense.
You know, why isn't if you position yourself as a leader, you better be ready to lead.
Why isn't this our government's responsibility? Why isn't this our collective responsibility?
Well, it is our collective responsibility, but
because the way we collectively express ourselves is not by paying money in the market; it's by the actions of our government, which purports to represent us.
I agree with Nilay.
I don't know what you just said.
No, but the government is there. I mean, like the whole point of the government
also
is to represent
myself
to actually represent the will of the people.
Let me hear Paul's answer to this. I mean, I think what you're asking is
I don't only express myself through the government.
But the government is there to solve collective actions problems that the market can't.
So here's the thing.
And the market clearly has not solved this problem for you.
The
market is exacerbating this problem.
This is not at all Apple's problem.
That's right.
Because but under the market conditions that we've created, this is the most optimal solution.
You know,
it's just a sec. It's not at all Apple's problem. I think it'd be cool if they solved it. Apple had no.
But why shouldn't we directly solve it? Because it is a problem.
Well, hold on. So hold on a second. It is an American problem, and there is an onus on our government to try to.
It's an ethical problem. It's like
no, but it's a real. People are poor. They're not eating. It's it's not an ethical problem.
Right. You know, there's actually
that's a I don't have McDonald's.
Hold on. So can I actually say, hold on, that is true. I moderated the panel at Sundance, and there was a woman named Rachel Grady on the panel who made a movie called Detropia, which is about Detroit, how it's basically been destroyed by globalization and shipping jobs overseas, and that it is like kind of apocalyptic there. And if you see photos of Detroit in certain parts of Detroit, it does kind of look like the end times. Like it looks like America at the end times. And I do think that you're right in saying that it's an American problem and it's a global problem, and there is a responsibility that our leaders have, which is what's so crazy about this situation, is that, you know, you've got Obama. Like I said, Obama on the one hand is preaching about how we need to bring jobs back to America from China. He says specifically, like, from overseas, right? And then he's got Steve Jobs' wife sitting there, again, who it's clear Apple doesn't want to bring those jobs back because we know that they can. But it's going to...
But I'm saying, and this is... It's not in their best interest to do it.
That's right.
It's not that they can, or
and
it
wasn't in the car company's best interest. And it wasn't the steel companies or the car companies' best interest to keep their jobs here.
Hold on, we gave the car companies lots of incentives to bring those jobs back.
No,
they came racing.
And
back.
Then they're not all back.
They're not in Detroit.
And the damage the damage is still done.
I bet Apple could cut a sweet deal with the state of California to create a factory.
I bet they could
sweetheart. You know,
they would cut a sweet deal with.
If they couldn't, they'd do it in some other.
They would cut a sweet deal with Wyoming.
Sure.
Well, whatever. But here's the question: what is the incentive to Apple to act? Right? Like, why would they? Because somebody from the government may say, Apple, we want you to bring jobs back here, and they'll just say, listen,
but that's
we can't create our products here in America.
I think there is always room for innovation. It's not a slam dunk for Apple to make a phone. Apple could lose billions of dollars deciding to make a device that it has no real experience in.
That's right.
Great,
John.
And they pulled it off. And I think if you applied a serious amount of long-term thinking, crazy investment, and innovation, I think you could
win
beat
the system.
Win at building.
No.
Can I just defend?
Also a bit of lobbying.
Can I just defend?
I mean, like, you're not going to. We live in the most complicated economic system ever devised.
Yes, it's
you're not going to beat the system by some really nice long-term thinking.
No, but
you have to actually engage the mechanics of the government.
Wait. Just a sec. If somebody figures out a way to produce a phone,
that's magical thinking.
Wait. I didn't say anything that was magical yet.
That's magical. They're just going to figure it out. I'll just do it.
I feel like Nilay's you're being a little hard on Paul.
I'm being hard because it's hard.
I don't know. I'm saying the same thing. Be hard on me.
I was hard on you.
If somebody figured out a way...
I didn't notice.
I know. You never did.
You know, American Apparel made shirts in the U.S., and they did a pretty good job.
They sold it with,
admittedly,
with a lot of porn that helped.
Hey, you know what? Then let Apple sell it with porn.
Okay, I'm
that
not...
Was a
that's
joke.
a good point. But that's a good point. They found a way to sell it for more money using porn.
If it's physically possible to produce a phone in the U.S.,
which it is, for sure,
and if you can produce that phone in the U.S. for a low enough cost and then charge enough of a premium on it that it balances out, then that is a thing. And I don't know how to do that, and maybe it's not. Maybe it can't be done.
That's where I think the magical thinking.
Well, no, but it isn't magical.
But I'm just saying, if someone.
But he's not describing like if you could create a unicorn by mating a couple of different animals
but
together.
I think the numbers involved make that a unicorn. That's all I'm saying.
Well, but I think it's only a unicorn because somebody isn't dreaming hard enough. Okay.
Yes.
That'll be enough.
Yes and yes.
No, but yes. No. I'm sorry. No. But this goes back to my core of my point, which is Apple. Think different. Mm-hmm. You know what? Mm-hmm. No. You know what? Think different. You're at the intersection of, and this is why people are putting it on Apple, and this is why Apple should feel the pressure. Mm-hmm. Like, they asked to be the person that bucks convention, that will go against the system, that will say, like, you don't think we can do it? We can't make a phone.
Yeah. Do you want me to bring?
We can't make a keyboard. We can't make a virtual keyboard that you'll want to use instead of a real keyboard. Well, guess what? We're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And if they're that company, if they think different,
they're also the company that came out with a $600 phone,
right? And sold it
and sold a lot of $600 phones.
But those problems are like Can I make a virtual keyboard? That is a problem that you can just think harder.
Those are Apple problems.
Like, but you can solve that problem.
Yeah, but are you saying
pure thought and execution?
Are you saying that you don't think Apple could do a better job of bringing some of these jobs back to America?
Can I bring it all the way back around?
And or making the conditions better in those
last
factories?
Last week in DRM and Hollywood and ACTA and all this other stuff that's going on.
Yes.
Apple could do all this stuff, and HP could help them, and Microsoft could help them.
If the whole industry banded together on it?
But they do not engage the government. Whatever happened, Silicon Valley is a frat house. I mean, that's how I think about it.
Well, this is a good
point. They
point.
believe they are apart and separate from the law.
Well, but you know what? And I agree with you. This is a point that you made, and I agree with, which is why isn't Google lobbying about SOPA, and why isn't Microsoft lobbying about SOPA, and frankly, why aren't they lobbying about? But here's the thing: we all know everything right now is designed that's good. It's good for Apple. They're making a lot of money. They have cheap labor, and nobody tells them to stop. They're not going to lobby against themselves.
But they could lobby for I'm saying that they can't just Apple can't just build the factory in Wyoming and be like, we're going to make it better because we thought about it.
No,
really
they can't.
hard.
They can do that. Just the way they built a phone that cost $600 that was going to be better than anybody else's phone.
Those aren't the same things.
They are exactly the same things. Like
building a factory in Wyoming that pays people a fair wage in America and produces a product that's affordable to Americans is not the same as building a $600.
So I think that I have a tendency to think about things as like never impossible. I think I have a tendency to hold on.
The only place we disagree is that those two things are the same.
I just think that they're not. Nothing. I mean, the same. What do you mean the same? I mean, the question is not like does the problem require the question is not does the problem require the same kind of method to get the job done? No, of course it doesn't. But can the job get done if somebody puts their mind to it? Definitely. Like, if you tell me that you don't think there's a way they can make it happen,
right? But those methods are deeply, deeply important. A $600 phone.
Of course they're important. No one's. I'm not. I'm just saying I don't have the method. It's true.
But you can't say.
I won't give you the breakdown of the method.
But this is like.
But I didn't think Hyundai it was at all possible for Hyundai to make really cheap cars in the U.S. until then. All of a sudden, they started making really cheap cars.
He's got you there, Patel.
No, but they did it because of like systematic and formalized incentive programs by the government. Well, because they lobbied the government.
Can I just say who cares? Who cares where it starts? Can I just say
I
don't care if they lobby.
Did Hyundai want to create jobs in the U.S. or did they want to be a more profitable company?
Or both. Did they? Or also did they?
They saw the opportunity to make cars in America as a road to a more profit.
Right,
and that's all you have to do. You have to provide that incentive.
Mercedes
Apple will never. This is what they're not going to lobby against themselves.
Right.
Apple's never going to say create this incentive for us.
That's what I'm saying. If they and they,
but that is, but
just they obviously haven't figured it out yet.
No, but they can't figure it out because it is not the same as we're going to build a $600 phone.
I don't think this is about them making more money. Can I just say something?
But were they to decide that, you know what? I think we can make more money if we did this and this and this. We charge more money, and we got these sweetheart deals from the government, and all this. So it's like, okay, we think
that hypotheticals, right?
No, but I think. Can I just say something? This isn't about making more money.
Hyundai did the same thing. They said, you know what? We think we can make more money if we did this. So let's lobby the government and get this sweetheart deal, and then start making cars here. And now we can have awesome ads about how we make all our cars.
I would just like to say something. I don't think at the end of the day this is an actual question about making more money, because I think what the truth is that you're going to make the most money by exploiting people, and you're going to make the most money by doing the worst things. Okay, like typically the two don't go hand in hand. Where you're like really great and kind and giving, and you're spreading the wealth around, and you also have to be making you have the highest margin, or sorry, the low would it be a highest margin, right?
It's funny,
but the point is, yes, I was looking at you for guidance. But the point is this: it's not going to be as long as a communist. Communo-fascist, whatever you call it, as long as the control in China is like a communist control and a fascist control that is in the service of the government and industry there, they're always going to be able to offer a better deal to Apple than what we're going to be able to offer. Like,
I don't think that's
no, I think it is. I think it's true.
Wait, you don't think that's necessarily true?
No, I don't.
I think.
Why are you hating on me for thinking that we could possibly make stuff?
No, that's magical thinking. That you don't think that it would be that they're happy to exploit.
No, I do think they're happy
more than they would be to lose.
These equations aren't 1-to-1. It's not like more exploitation means more profit, so we're going here. I mean, there's a social cost to doing this business, and we have to increase the social cost of exploiting Chinese labor, right? That's tremendously important. And then
you say increase it?
You mean like trade embargo?
No. This like we have to build like I hate the phrase build awareness, but we have to increase the social cost of doing business in a bad way.
There need to be more articles like the New York Times one. Is what you're saying?
Right. That's our responsibility.
Yes.
And then our broader responsibility.
Maybe Obama really wrote the New York Times.
Maybe.
article.
And then our broader responsibility has to be. I mean,
Obama's talking out of both sides of his mouth. That's the problem. He's kind of. That's part of the problem is that you've got Obama, like I said, saying two different things.
Right.
He's like, we love Apple, bring jobs back to America. But like those two things are completely incompatible as of right now.
And what you were saying about like...
Sorry, do you want to finish your point? No, come on.
But the second thing is we have to recognize the only mechanism to actually bring these jobs back to America is changing the economics of bringing the jobs back
Occupy
to America.
Wall Street. Occupy.
And that means that the government has to take direct action every level, local, state, federal, to change the economics of manufacturing.
Occupy one infinite loop.
If you don't do that, Apple's never going to go change it themselves. They will never do it. They have no incentive to do it.
Right.
And they can't do it.
Here's an incentive for Apple to do it. They actually give a shit. That's the incentive. No, it's the incentive for any company to do anything that will be hard. Okay, like if Apple cares about jobs, and by the way, this isn't about Apple. It's about any company that does this. If you care about jobs in America and you care about the human rights of the people in your factories in China, you'll do something about it. And it's a question of whether you care or not. And that's all there is to it. Like, if you care more about the bottom line than you do about people, then you'll keep doing what you're doing. If you care more about people than the bottom line, then you'll fix it. I mean, it's that simple.
What were you saying? You were saying before about how, people don't get ahead by doing the right thing. That you get ahead by, like, doing the worst, most cynical thing. Typically.
Yeah, basically.
But I think the really interesting thing about Apple is, like, Apple is this, like, two-sided company where hiring wise and talent wise, like they're an HR company is what Steve
marketing
Jobs would say.
and the spirit of the company.
But like how Apple is innovated is by paying a lot of money to the most innovative people to come innovate for it.
Right.
And and spending billions of dollars on R&D at times when other companies weren't spending as much on R&D. So like on that side, that is awesome, and I'm sure Obama loves that. But the other side of Apple's success is that it's like the best, most ruthless supply chain company in the world.
And the guy who now is the CEO is the guy who created those ruthless supply chains. And look, I'm not knocking. I'm not knocking them for becoming.
He's a huge talent who got paid a lot of money.
That's right.
As a person in the U.S.
But what happens is
figure out a way to milk a supply chain in an amazing way.
Right. But what happens is you reach a point. There's a plateau where like it doesn't matter. You could pay more or less and you get the same work. If you pay less and send the jobs to China, the work will be the same as if you pay more and have jobs. In fact, in some ways, they might argue, and may be true, that at least in some ways the work would be better because there's more force put on laborers there. There's more of an incentive for them. They have more to gain because they're, like you said, the job situation is not great to begin with. So these factories are in some ways like the greatest, the best thing you could get. A factory job is I think probably one of the better jobs you can get in China, right? And by the way, I haven't been there. I don't know. These factories might be wonderful places to work, and I'm just going off of what the New York Times says and what the NPR report says, and various reports from all over the world that say like the human rights in China are really bad. But that could just be speculation from people. But what I am saying is this, and I just want to like stress that this isn't about it. Isn't really Apple's just the lightning rod because they are just succeeding so much right now, and they're winning so hard that like it's easy to use them as the example. But I think this goes to everybody in the industry. We need to change it. Like the industry needs to change. It has to come from somewhere. And you're right. It is on.
It's on us.
Pressure should be exerted. Oh, it's on us in the press. I think first off to talk about it, and we're doing that. I mean, we need to do more of it. And I'm
at least another hour.
At least another straight hour of this. It's on the government, unfortunately, to start to think about ways that they can address the issues, right? I don't think our government's going to address human rights issues in China. I mean, they don't have the power. They don't have the say. But what I will say is this. If Apple and our government decided, or at least agreed, to that two things were happening, that we needed more jobs in America and that the human rights in China were worse, and they made moves like, hey, we're bringing some of our workforce, we're going to bring some of that workforce back to America because, one, we need the jobs here, and two, we think you guys could do a better job with human rights. I do think that would have an impact. I do think if Apple tomorrow said, hey, China, guess what? we're no longer using you guys for anything. We're going to bring all of our labor back here. We don't even care what expense because we've got $93 billion in the bank. Not that they could do that, but this is kind of a fantasy scenario. But you can be sure that China would say, we'll do whatever you want to make these factories better.
I do, as hurtful as his tone has been with me all
Very,
day.
very,
Has it
very,
been
very
hurtful?
rude.
It's been hurtful.
I think you have been a little mean to
I think
Paul.
you're dismissive of my intellect, which is,
the
to be honest,
Socratic
like,
method.
massive, massive.
vast intellect.
Vast and massive.
I don't think
intellect.
I'm just asking you the questions,
But
man.
I do.
No, you harshed on his mellow.
I think the only reason Apple would ever do this, and I think the only reason, and even if Apple was so idealistic that they did it, the only reason that everybody would do this, that it would actually be a viable thing, is if it was a viable thing. If you know, the
They
economic.
wouldn't be like, well, we may fail.
no, that's
we
the
may
thing.
go out of business, but we got to try.
That's the thing. It can't be like, you know what, this is really going to damage our bottom line, but we're going to do it anyways because it's the right thing to do. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, you know, if you look at like all this, you know, free range stickers on chickens in the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's because it makes them more money.
Well, they
you know,
charge.
there's like 5 dudes who are doing it morally.
That's a great example.
And the rest of people are doing it, and so. But I think you're right that unless someone had an insane magical idea to figure this how to do it profitably, we would need a different economic climate in the country right now.
Well,
different policy from the government to make this more economically viable.
But you are right. That's a great analogy. Is the free range chicken? You know, because here's the deal: for the farmer who raises the free range chicken, however it works out, they charge more for it. Somehow they're making money on it, right?
No, but they're making money on it because they charge the higher price because there's a market for people who think that's a better product.
Yeah,
that's the free range chicken is a $600 iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And the $600, and I would.
But that's more of a corollary.
But is it the $65 more iPhone?
Right? Is it
And
the
that's
iPhone? Is it the iPhone that is on subsidy for $265 instead of $200?
$65 more. I think that would be huge.
I think that is the question that's much harder to answer.
Well, I think if you knew that
especially when you have
your
kids,
neighbors,
you have kids getting their iPhone for Christmas. It's like, you know what? It's great that my dad. You know what? My dad hates Chinese people because he didn't give me the more expensive iPhone that's made in the U.S.
That's a weird scenario you just created.
You are the strangest 14-year-old girl in the world.
No. But wait a second. Look, but it is like worth saying. You know, if your neighbors and your family, if they're the people making the more expensive phone, and you're like, well, I could spend the $65 on it. I just think, look, it's like we either want to embrace.
I mean, how many vegetarian 14-year-old girls are there?
There's a lot.
They want the $65.
We either want to. I mean, in this country, we either want to embrace. We want to. I mean, we have to admit like reality. Like
I'm just laughing at the idea of.
I bet you'd be more likely to sell a $299 free range iPhone than you'd be likely to sell the $299 32 gig instead of the 16 gig. Like people would rather spend that extra $100 on morality than music storage.
I do think like we have to decide if we're going to be, if we want to.
I think that is your feature.
I think. Can I just say? I think that we've been living.
My feature's so much better.
I think that. I just think that.
You can write that.
I think that at the core of this, and I've talked about this before, and I don't want to continue talking about it for too much longer.
Really?
But I think at the core of this,
we're about out of daylight. We should just keep going. Come back all the way.
We have to admit, as a society, and particularly in America, that we're living we're living beyond our means in a lot of ways. Okay, and we've talked about this before, where it's like, you know, nobody wants to pay for the $600 iPhone. They don't want to pay what it actually costs to make it. So they're subsidized. And so you end up in these crappy carrier contracts because they're subsidizing, because you want to have the $600 phone, but you don't want to pay the $600 price. Mm-hmm. And so you pay some other way. You get, you know, the subsidized device. I think that we have to, like, part of this is Americans and everybody in the world growing up and saying, it was nice while it lasted, but if we keep doing it this way, we're basically going to destroy the world. I mean, because that is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to create tremendous economic inequality, and that's going to lead to basically violent revolution. Like, that's where it heads. Like,
or like a Blade Runner scenario where we all have to migrate. I mean, to Mars.
China and countries like that. I mean, they're the places where they're mining this stuff. I mean, they are those. That's the beginning of it. You know, and places like Detroit are the beginning of our cities being destroyed by things like globalization and people not being able to sustain their lives there. I mean, these things are the seeds of the dystopic By the way, this panel was all about dystopia and like the future.
that's
So,
on my mind.
but these
synthetic animals.
no, but Edward James Olmos was. I asked everybody on the panel. He was on the panel, but everybody. I was like, "What do you think? Like, what is it going to get worse before it gets better?" And everybody was like,
"Did you get to touch him?"
It was. I did. He was really nice, by the way. But it was like it was like filmmakers and Bill Buxton from Microsoft Research and Paul Yaron from Oblong Industries, and Musa Saeed, who's a filmmaker, and Rachel Grady, who's a filmmaker, and Edward James Olmos. But everybody down the line, very different walks, and I think the kind of gist was. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. Like it's going to be like the Rodney King riots times 10. And like that's what happens. Like if we don't start to admit that like we are doing things that are destructive, even if they feel good at this moment, they're destructive overall. And I think that continuing these conditions in China, continuing not focusing on how we get jobs, and also telling people, hey, you can have whatever you want for whatever price, and like you can keep doing that forever. We have to be realistic. Like I think it's time for us to grow up a little bit as a society. And it's hard for me to say this since we cover gadgets. Saying, because that's what we do. We cover stuff where it's like subsidized and it should be a lot more expensive and it's made in China and it's horrible and we're battling this. Like I am at least battling.
And then we complain about the price.
And then I don't have complaints about prices. Like I'm not like how dare they charge $200 for this, but I'm like basically a 1%er. I'm not the 99%.
It's true. You were just hanging out with a bunch of Hollywood bigwigs.
I was at Sundance with Edward James Olmos. What's more 1% than that? No, but like it is.
Josh, did you ever think that you're the problem?
I am the problem.
Give me $65.
Take me out.
Can I have $65?
Yeah,
I was made in America.
If you're going to put it towards an American-made iPhone, I'll happily give you $65.
I'll make something else.
Here's my promise to the world: if Apple brings phone and iPad,
can you slowly zoom in on Josh?
If they bring their production back to America, I will give every American $65 towards a new iPhone. You have my promise. Apple, I'm looking at you.
Josh has been stashing away a lot.
Bring the jobs.
Josh has roughly $95 billion.
I want Warren Buffett and Bill Gates to join me in pledging $65 to every American if Apple will bring jobs back to America.
Wow.
But iPhone producing jobs.
Right.
He can't be like, don't bring back like you're making like
you're
making like the rubber knobs that sit on the bottom of the.
You
Mac.
want Bill Gates to subsidize every iPhone for $65.
Yeah.
Rubber knobs.
No, rubber nubs.
Rubber nubs.
They're like the thing on the bottom of the Mac. Like, we're making those rubber pads that make so your computer doesn't sit on an actual desktop. Yeah. Anyhow, are we wrapping up? We're wrapping up, right? Don't tell me we have more topics.
No, we have like 50 more.
I'm going to kill you.
No.
I'm dry.
Here, just have mine because I can't really drink it. I have to go to dinner, and it's
mine doesn't have alcohol in it, but you can have
salty for my taste. Here, look. You can switch, Nilay. You can switch straws here, so you don't have to worry about my hideous mouth diseases. What do you mean? I know how straws work.
Don't say hideous mouth diseases.
I'm joking. I'm fine. It's cleared up. It's totally fine.
I respect your intellect. I'm sorry I was hard.
Yeah, thank you for apologizing. You owe him an apology.
We'll hug it out. Be fine.
I'm sorry.
Hug it out right now.
Come here.
That's a hug. Come on. Wow.
Paul's not into this hug at all.
Paul's going. It's a weird. All right, just. Well, that's our Vergecast. We're like, I have one other thing.
Let's talk about policy.
I have one other thing I want to talk about.
Remember every week when we say we're not going to do it?
Am I still zoomed in on, by the way? Because if I am, I'm going to be really pissed. We have our I want to announce our next guest for On the Verge, February 10th. Jimmy Fallon. Coming on the Verge.
Nice.
Very excited. He said, so we talked last time I was on the show, and I was like, you got to come do it. He actually mentioned it on the air, and then I was like, you got to come do it. And he did it. He did the Unguided show before with us, and he's going to come back and do this. And we actually are lining up some really cool guests for March as well, and I don't want to talk about it yet, but it may be
Jimmy Fallon.
It's Jimmy Fallon. we're not really that original. And
Jimmy Fallon will be giving
it's cool. We're gonna
$65.
have Creighton musical guests.
George and Jonathan.
Are they confirmed?
We're like, yes.
Basically confirmed. These guys, George and Jonathan, that are insane. Maybe we'll post. Whoa, somebody's getting an iPhone message from Apple. Okay, we'll do it. Get your $65 ready. It's cool. The next show is gonna be cool. It's very exciting. Sponsored by
February
Sony.
10th.
Yeah, Sony sponsoring again, which is nice of them to do that. We love Sony's cash. Mm-hmm. And they're hit recording artists like Kesha. I don't know if she's on Sony.
She's on Sony.
Is she on Sony? Like Kesha.
Adele,
What?
right?
Kelly Pickler.
Kelly Pickler.
Pickler.
Adele.
Yeah.
Man, the list goes on and on.
There was another one.
No, not Adele. Sorry. I don't know.
Not Adele?
Are you sure? Rush? Rush is a Sony. Really? I don't think they want to. I don't think
Stop
Sony.
naming bands
I don't
you
think,
like.
I don't think Sony's
and
trying to.
hoping they're on Sony.
I don't think Sony's trying to talk about Rush being one of their artists. I'll be honest with you. Anyhow, that's our Vergecast. If you want to get in touch with us, you can leave us you can send us an email at podcast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment on the post when it goes up, or of course you can find us on Twitter. The Verge is at Verge. I'm Joshua Topolsky. Nilay is Reckless. Paul is Future Paul, and we will be back next week on Thursday. Right?
Adele's definitely so.
Adele is on Sony. We'll be back on Thursday, regular podcast time, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at
I'm on vacation next week.
Rush is on Anthem Records.
Which is a subsidiary of Sony. I have no idea. Okay, that's our show. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll be back next week with more delicious and non-political conversation.
Rock and roll.
Defeated rock and roll.